She discovered an incredible connection by mistake. Moments later, a CEO revealed life-changing opportunities. Emily wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead as she maneuvered through the crowded diner, the familiar murmur of conversation swirling around her like a comforting blanket. The aroma of fresh coffee and pancakes filled her senses, yet it was a heaviness in her heart that carried more weight. As the youngest waitress at the Heartland Diner, she poured love into every cup she served, all while dreaming of a future brighter than the neon lights outside. Moments after the charity event wrapped up, she overheard a conversation at the back table. A deep voice, assertive yet cordial, cut through the clanging dishes. "We need to create jobs for the veterans here. They deserve a second chance." It was the CEO of a successful manufacturing company, meeting with a local leader. Emily, drawn in by the warmth in his words, followed the sound, her heart racing. "Hi, I'm Emily," she introduced herself hesitantly, her hands trembling around the tray of empty mugs. Their eyes met, and in that moment, she felt a spark of connection. She poured her heart out, expressing her fervent dream of opening a business to guide veterans like her father back into the workforce, helping them reclaim their lost sense of purpose. To her surprise, the CEO smiled, a glimmer of recognition in his eyes. "I was once just like you," he said quietly, revealing his humble roots. "I know what hard work means." It was as if a flame ignited inside her. But as she mingled with hopeful thoughts, a shadow loomed in her mind, her father's voice. "Keep your feet on solid ground, Em. Who knows what change brings?" He had fought bravely in Vietnam, but now, he was often lost in the haunting echoes of his past, fearful of any shifts in their lives. Torn between loyalty and her ambitions, guilt threatened to stifle her dreams. Days turned into restless nights. The competition loomed, a chance to showcase her idea. Yet, as she practiced her pitch, her confidence fluctuated. Memories of her father flashed before her, his laughter fading into shadows as his PTSD gripped his spirit. She felt the weight of expectation with a tightness in her chest. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." On the day of the pitch, the atmosphere buzzed with tension. Standing backstage, the sound of her own heartbeat echoed softly in her ears. She looked out into the crowd, her father's familiar face brightened by apprehension. This was it her time to speak, not only for herself but for every veteran who had suffered in silence. As she stepped onto the stage, each breath felt electric. When she began to share her vision, her words poured out, painting a vivid picture of veteran struggles. She evoked their resilience, connecting to something deeper and universal. And just as she glanced back at her father, seeing both fear and pride reflected in his eyes, the air around her crackled with anticipation. Would the CEO understand the pulse of her dreams? Could he envision the possibility of change in their town? The weight of uncertainty enveloped her, leaving the crowd holding its breath as the room fell silent, awaiting a response that could redefine everything. Emily's heart raced. What would fate sprinkle upon her hopes? As she stood there, poised yet vulnerable, the echoes of family loyalty hummed beneath the surface, intertwining with the vision she had dared to share. The crossroads of her life lay before her, thrilling yet heavy, as the final moments of her journey hung in the air, teetering on the edge of possibility. Emily stood on the stage, her voice reverberating through the crowd like a heartbeat in a quiet room. She had poured her soul into her pitch, every word laced with hope and a yearning for change. Yet, she felt the gaze of the CEO, his scrutinizing expression, and it sent a wave of doubt crashing down on her. "What if I'm not enough?" she thought, the fear binding her to the floor. In that brief moment, she could almost hear her father's voice, tinged with concern, reminding her to stay grounded. To him, big dreams often felt like distant stars, unreachable amidst a sky of struggle. Suddenly, the silence shattered. "Emily," the CEO began, his voice smooth yet powerful. "You've brought up points that resonate deeply with not just me, but our whole community." Hope flickered. Would he back her idea? While he spoke, she tried to study the faces in the audience. Some looked inspired, others skeptical. But for every furrowed brow, there were nods of agreement. Beneath the weight of her nerves, she felt a tether of connection to these people, friends, neighbors, veterans. "I believe we can create an initiative together," he continued, excitement dancing in his eyes. "A model that not only offers jobs to veterans but also teaches them skills that help them regain their identities. We can implement workshops, mentorship programs. There's a universe of potential here." Emily's heart fluttered. She felt warmth flood her face, tears threatening to spill. The weight she felt moments ago began to drift away, replaced with an overwhelming sense of purpose. Could this really be happening? She wondered, her mind racing ahead. As applause erupted around her, she almost forgot the sense of guilt that had shadowed her for days. But as she caught a glimpse of her father, clapping slowly with a proud smile illuminating his features, reality crashed back in. He had fought to keep his dreams alive even when the world tried to dim their light. Was it fair for her to chase after hers while he bore the scars of his fight? I want this," she stammered out, searching for balance. "But I need to ensure it's right for the veterans. My dad." The words caught in her throat, sticky and difficult to express. "He needs support too. I want to make sure we build something that truly helps, not just gives jobs but heals." The CEO nodded thoughtfully, sensing the weight of her words. "That's exactly the spirit we need." But before they could delve deeper, the sound of the crowd shifted. Whispers began swirling. Emily turned slightly, sensing an undercurrent of doubt in the atmosphere. A few local business owners exchanged glances. Suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the excitement. "Is this just another flashy initiative that will fade with the next election?" A seasoned businessman shouted from the back of the room. "What guarantee do we have that this will truly benefit our veterans or our community?" Emily's heart sank. The skepticism felt like a weight added to her already trembling shoulders. What if they were right? What if her dreams crumbled before they even took flight? Looking back to the CEO, she saw determination kindling in his eyes. "This isn't merely an initiative for us, it's a mission," he proclaimed. "But we need all of you standing with us. Get involved. Help us shape it into something real." The energy in the room shifted again, igniting hope amidst the doubt. But could she trust that the spark could turn into a flame? Did they have what it took to turn dreams into reality? With her father by her side and a newfound ally before her, the battleground of dreams was forming. Yet the lingering question weighed heavily: what would it mean for her family if she followed this path? As the applause swelled again, Emily felt the eyes of the audience not just on her, but into her heart. She clenched her fists, realizing this journey was only beginning. The work ahead would be intense, but was she ready for a fight? The road of uncertainty stretched on, but she took a breath, ready for the next challenge. After all, every dream faced trials before it could soar. What could possibly unfold next? As the applause faded, Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. She could still hear the echoes of her words bouncing off the walls, but now, the reality of the moment sat heavy in her stomach. Turning to her father, his proud smile was infectious, yet it clashed with her swirling thoughts. "Dad, what if I can't do this?" she whispered, her voice just a tremor. "What if this whole idea just falls apart?" He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and grounding. "You've already sparked something in that room. You've got this, Em. Just hold on to that fire." But the flicker of doubt found its way back as she scanned the crowd. A few faces remained skeptical, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Would they support her vision? Did they truly want change? Before she could linger too long in anxiety, the CEO beckoned her. Emily. Let us take this conversation to my office. I want to brainstorm how we can get everyone on board. A mix of excitement and apprehension washed over her. The sanctuary of the stage began to fade as she followed him, exiting through the doors to a corridor lined with photographs of past initiatives. She paused. Each picture captured a moment of triumph, but the stories behind many were haunting. In his spacious office, he gestured for her to sit. The walls were adorned with accolades and framed pieces of history that held the weight of dreams realized. I know you have concerns, he started, his tone softer now. Let us address them head-on. She took a deep breath, feeling the anchor of responsibility pull her deeper. It's just. I don't want this to be another corporate whim that loses steam. Our veterans need genuine help, real support, she insisted. He nodded, eyes intense. Exactly why your perspective is vital. This can't just be a plan, it has to be a movement. You understand your community better than anyone else. Let us make it truly impactful. A spark ignited within her, a mixture of excitement and responsibility. We need to involve veterans in the planning process. They need to have a voice, know that they matter, that they're not just numbers, she asserted, her confidence building. Brilliant, he responded, a grin spreading. That's the spirit we need. We can organize focus groups, get their stories, their input. This will be a partnership. But the rising tide of enthusiasm was quickly met by doubt. And how do we combat the skepticism? The voices like that businessman tonight? She asked, heart pounding. He leaned back, fingers interlaced thoughtfully. We can show them results. We'll position this as a community initiative, highlighting success stories, showcasing tangible outcomes. It's all about transparency. In that moment, something clicked for Emily. This wasn't just about her dream anymore. It was a chance to unite a community, to create a legacy that could last longer than her own ambitions. But still, a shadow of fear lingered. Are you sure I can drive this? She asked, vulnerability creeping in. What if I fail? He leaned forward, his gaze steady on hers. You won. You have passion, determination, and heart. People follow that. But you must also be open to learning and listening. As they plotted out a vision, Emily's heart soared and sank at the same time. She could feel the weight of responsibility settling onto her shoulders, heavy and monumental. But she also felt the thrill of potential, the sense of purpose driving her forward. Just as she felt a surge of hope, the office door swung open abruptly. A young intern rushed in, eyes wide, breathless. Sorry to interrupt, but we just received a message. A local news outlet wants to cover the initiative. Emily's breath caught. Now? This soon? The urgency was overwhelming. Absolutely. We need to be ready to share the story, the CEO replied, rising from his seat, determination sparking in his eyes. Emily's heart raced again. This was it, their moment to shine, their shot to bring the community together. But what if the public didn't accept her or the idea? Anxiety knotted in her stomach as she left the office, chasing the unknown. As she stepped out, she realized this journey was unfolding faster than she ever imagined. Could she rise to the occasion, or would doubt pull her under? With a lump in her throat, she whispered to herself, what if I finally find my strength and my voice? Little did she know, this was just the beginning. It would take more than just a pitch to ignite real change. What awaited her down that path? Emily stepped into the bright hallways of the corporate space, a whirlwind of thoughts racing in her mind. She could feel the light humming above as if it somehow mirrored her tangled emotions. The news of the local media coverage echoed in her ears, both thrilling and terrifying. What if this wasn't just a flash in the pan? What if she forgot her words, or worse, let her community down? She took a deep breath to calm the storm inside her. She had to focus. In the next few minutes, she'd be sitting in front of cameras, talking about something that meant the world to her. It was time to be vulnerable, to show just how much this initiative mattered. Striding forward, carry the mission on her shoulders, she clenched her fists. This was more than just her chance, it was theirs. As she reached the designated room for the interview, she noticed a small, framed photograph tucked away in the corner. It was a picture of a small group of veterans, smiling brightly at a community event. In that moment, something shifted. She felt an unmistakable connection to them, a pull that drew on every experience she had growing up with her father, hearing stories of his service. The moment felt monumental. "Hey, you good?" A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Jamie, the intern from earlier. He looked uncomfortable, but his eyes were encouraging. "You seem a bit tense." Emily nodded, forcing a smile. "Just taking everything in." "Gotcha. You're going to do amazing. Everyone is excited about this," he said, a hint of youthful enthusiasm shining through. Before she could respond, the room's atmosphere shifted. The crew rushed in, lights starting to flicker on, cameras being set up. Emily's heartbeat drummed in her ears, feeling the weight increase with every click. She swallowed hard, wishing to clear the lump in her throat. Deep down, she felt a responsibility to those veterans, the very names and faces she now could see in her mind. "All right, Emily," a producer chimed, her clipboard clasped tightly. "Are you ready? Just speak from your heart, and remember why you're doing this." And just like that, she shifted her focus. As the cameras began to roll, she met the lens with determination. "Thank you for joining us today. I'm here to talk about something really important: our veterans. I grew up hearing stories about what they sacrificed, and now I'm in a position where I can actually do something meaningful." Her voice gained strength, rising as she thought of those faces in the photo, juxtaposed against the doubts and the businessmen's skepticism. "I want to create a bridge between their needs and our community's resources. We can't let them feel like they're alone. We're forming a partnership, a movement, not just another program." Jamie stood off to the side, his eyes widening as he watched her. The crew was captivated, whispers of approval circulating among them. But just as Emily felt she was gaining traction, a shadow fell across her. The door swung open with a sudden force, and in walked an unexpected figure from the event, the same skeptical businessman she had nervous chills about. His presence filled the space, heavy with uncertainty. "Excuse me," he interrupted, arms crossed defiantly. "I want to make sure this isn't just about feel-good stories. What's your plan for accountability? Can you ensure this won't be wasted time or money?" Emily felt her heart drop, the moment testing her newfound resolve. She wanted to run from the challenge, but she couldn't. Not now. Swallowing hard, she took a breath. "I can't promise everything will be perfect, but what I can assure you is that our approach involves the veterans themselves. Their stories will guide us. We're here to learn from them, to ensure that funding goes where it's truly needed. They deserve that." The businessman's gaze softened for a moment, and the crew shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension in the air. Emily's heart raced. She was not just presenting an idea, she was facing an opponent, trying to convince him of the greater good. The stakes had suddenly grown sky-high, and the doubt in her stomach felt heavier. But what if she could win him over? What if she could turn this around? The silence in the room deepened, and in that moment, she realized, this was real. This was her battle. "Do you really think this can make a difference?" he asked, disbelief lingering in his voice. Her voice barely above a whisper. Emily nodded. "I believe it can. But it starts here." What would happen next? Would she convince him, or would his skepticism shake the foundation of everything she sought to build? The answers felt daunting, and fear wrapped itself around her like a suffocating blanket. In the midst of the uncertainty, one question echoed loudly in her mind: was she ready for this fight? Emily's resolve wavered as the businessman's eyes held hers, scrutinizing every flutter of doubt that crossed her face. She could feel the tension tightening around her like a noose, but deep down, something ignited. There was a purpose hidden beneath those layers of fear, a spark ready to burst into flames. "What if," she said, her voice firming, "what if I could introduce you to some of these veterans? Hear their stories firsthand? You might change your mind." He seemed taken aback, arms unfolding slightly, revealing a glimmer of curiosity. "You think they can convince me? I think they can show you something. Something real." The crew exchanged glances, sensing a crucial turning point. Emily's heartbeat echoed in her ears, a steady reminder that she had the capability to steer this conversation. She took one more deep breath, feeling a warmth spread through her. This was not just about her anymore, this was a call for the veterans waiting beyond the interview's gaze. "I know you come from a place of skepticism. That's okay. But this isn't just another project, this is about giving a voice back to those who fought for ours. They deserve that respect." His demeanor shifted, if only slightly, as her words pierced through the armor he wore like a shield. "What if I don't see the accountability you're promising? Then let me show you. I'm inviting you to be a part of our first meeting. See the impact firsthand. You won't just hear our vision, you'll witness how we're learning from those who have served," she replied, the fire in her gut fueling her confidence. His brow furrowed, and she could practically see the gears in his mind turning. Emily couldn't help but glance at Jamie, seeing his awe at the unexpected direction of the conversation. "Let me think about it," he said after a pause, and she experienced a rush of hope, almost dizzying in its intensity. A crack had appeared in his facade. "But I can't promise you I'll be sold just because I hear some stories." "Fair enough. But if you're willing to listen, I promise you won't walk away empty-handed." With that, the atmosphere shifted again. The crew returned to their tasks, less tense than moments before. Emily felt a swell of empowerment course through her. The businessman was still there, lingering as if contemplating how to reframe his approach. "Just one last thing," he said, breaking the silence once more. "If this goes south, it'll fall on you. Are you ready for that?" Emily met his gaze unflinchingly. "I'll take ownership of this initiative, good or bad. I'm all in." The room remained charged, and seconds felt like hours. His expression flickered, something like respect passing across his features before he nodded slowly. "All right, then," he replied, his tone somewhat softer now. "Let us set up a meeting. But I'm not making any guarantees, not yet." As he turned to leave, Emily's heart soared. She had pushed back against the wave of skepticism and found a tiny foothold. She knew it wasn't much, but it was something. She dared to hope that this could be the start of something significant. Jamie approached her, eyes wide with admiration. "That was incredible, Emily. You really handled him." "After everything I had to stand my ground," she said, still buzzing from the encounter. There was a newfound strength in her commitment. But just as she felt a surge of victory, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Her heart lurched as she pulled it out and saw the message. It was from her father. "Need to talk. Important news." A wave of anxiety washed over her. What could it be? She glanced at Jamie, who looked curious but respectful of her private moment. "Excuse me, Jamie," she said hurriedly. "I need to step outside for a moment." She stepped into the hall, the bright lights following her like a spotlight. The world outside felt heavier now, each step echoing her concern. What could be so urgent? As she read the text again, a chill ran down her spine. What crucial news could her father be referring to? With each tick of her heartbeat, uncertainty wrapped around her. The hope she had just felt began to tangle with an unfamiliar worry. Would this news shake the foundation she had just dared to build? She took a deep breath, knowing she had to face whatever lay ahead. But as she stared at her phone, her mind raced with possibilities, each one more daunting than the last. What awaited her on the other side of this conversation? And how would it impact her fight for the veterans? Emily stepped outside, the air thick with anticipation and unease. She leaned against the cold wall, the rough texture grounding her even as her thoughts raced. Her phone blinked again, a small but powerful spark of frustration flaring in her chest. "Just tell me what is going on," she muttered to herself, reassuring herself with the need for clarity. Her father had never sent cryptic texts. Emergencies were rare in their family, and she knew him to be someone who preferred straightforward conversations. The last time he had reached out with such urgency was when her mother was hospitalized, a moment forever poised at the edge of her memory. What else could it be? As she paced, the sound of her shoes echoed sharply in the hollow hallway. She pressed the phone against her ear, trying to steady her breath. Anxiety twisted her stomach, and she closed her eyes momentarily, wishing for a serene answer. When he finally picked up, his voice carried the weight of the world. "I'm glad you answered. We need to talk." "It's important," he said, and she could hear the strain right away. "Dad, what's wrong? Is it Mom?" No, your mom is fine," he rushed to reassure her. "It's about the family business. I need your input, and there's been something I've kept from you for too long." Her heart sank. The family business was a tangled web of expectations and responsibilities that she had tried to distance herself from. She had always dreamed of doing something different, something meaningful. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice small. "There's an opportunity, a deal that's bigger than anything we've tackled before," he explained. "But it'll require your involvement. It's about funding a project that could redefine our future." Emily's head spun. All she could think about was the work she was doing for veterans, the meeting she'd just set up. "But Dad, I'm committed to my project. It's important to me," she argued, finding her ground amidst the unreasonable expectations she felt closing in. "I understand that, but this could change everything for us. I could really use your expertise. I know you're passionate about these veterans, but think about the family. Think about our future." His words hung heavy, wrestling with the vision she had begun to forge for herself. Conflicted, she felt a surge of frustration. "But what about what I want? What about helping the veterans? I don't want to trade one family obligation for another. I'm not asking you to sacrifice. I'm asking you to help your family. There's a chance here to expand our business, not just survive but thrive." A rush of memories flooded her, moments spent at the family office, conversations of prosperity and responsibility that felt worlds away from her current mission. She wanted to scream but settled for a deep breath. "I'll think about it, but I can't promise anything, Dad. The veterans, they need me." She hung up, feeling a mix of empowerment and despair swirling like a storm inside her. Footsteps echoed down the hall as Jamie approached, concern written all over his face. "Everything okay? You look pale." "No, well, maybe." Emily let out an exasperated sigh. She rubbed her temples. "My dad wants me to step back into the family business. It's complicated." Jamie crossed his arms, his brows furrowing. "I know this is tough, but are you really considering it? You were so fired up before." "I want to help the veterans," she replied, her voice shaky. "But this opportunity, it's pulling at my loyalty, my family ties." Jamie's expression softened. "Emily, you have to choose what's right for you, not just what others expect." She nodded slowly, caught in the whirlwind of choices, each decision heavier than the last. Looking at Jamie, she found encouragement in his eyes. What if there's a way to do both somehow? Maybe what's waiting at the family business could even support what you're doing for the veterans. What if, Emily whispered, feeling a flicker of hope. But as she contemplated this possibility, the reminder of the businessman's skepticism echoed in her mind. She had fought so hard for her path, and change after change made her head spin. Could she strike that balance? Or would she risk losing everything she had just fought to begin? As doubt washed over her again, a small chime drew her attention. Another text notification. "Wait, hang on," she said to Jamie. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked her phone. Emily's breath hitched. The text was from the businessman. "Can we talk? I think I may have some resources." After all, her heart leapt. What could he possibly want now? Was it a sign, or was it just another complication? With new uncertainty spinning in her mind, she faced Jamie. "This could change everything again," she said softly, wonder battling with dread. What awaited her now? And how would she navigate the fallout? Emily felt a buzz of adrenaline race through her as she stared at the message, the words spinning in her mind. "Can we talk?" It seemed innocent enough, yet it bore the weight of possibility. What resources? What could this man offer her that would make her life any easier? Or was it just more entanglement? "Are you going to reply?" Jamie's voice snapped her back to the moment. She felt his gaze, steady and questioning, boring into her with a sense of urgency that matched her own. I don't know," Emily stammered. The rhythm of her heart quickened as she contemplated her options. "If this guy has something concrete, it might help me find a way to keep my work with the veterans. But it could also pull me deeper into that world I'm trying to avoid. Maybe it's worth hearing him out." "You can still say no," Jamie suggested, tilting his head. "Just keep your goals clear. Don't lose sight of what you truly want." As she typed her reply, she felt herself teetering on a precipice. The words felt monumental. "I'm free to talk, what's on your mind?" She pressed send, anxiety coiling tight in her chest. Minutes passed like hours, and finally, her phone chimed again. "Can you meet me at the coffee loft in 30? Something about the request felt too casual, and yet, it was the place she frequented, a little cafe tucked away at the edge of town. The kind of place that was warm and inviting, where the aroma of roasted coffee beans wrapped around you like a hug. "Great, I'll meet you there," she replied, still unsure if she was making a mistake or taking the first step toward something life-saving. As she walked with Jamie toward the cafe, Emily's mind reeled. Would the businessman be the answer she didn't know she was looking for? Or would his words pull her further from her mission with the veterans? When they arrived, she spotted him sitting at a small corner table, tapping impatiently on his phone. His intensity was palpable, and Emily felt a wave of nerves wash over her. She exhaled deeply before moving closer, Jamie's supportive presence lingering behind as she approached. "Hey," she said, forcing a smile. "Thanks for coming," he replied, his gaze sharp, assessing her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable yet curious. "I think we can do something significant, you and I." "Do you?" She challenged lightly, crossing her arms as she took in his confidence. "You reached out to me last week with just a glimpse of what that might be." The businessman leaned in, his voice lowering. "I've been watching your work with veterans. It's impressive. I think there's a way to blend our resources that could be mutually beneficial. We can expand the business and have a real impact. A chance to change lives." Emily's heart stumbled. Was he suggesting that she route funding towards her project? The intertwining of her dreams with the family world felt dizzying. But still, seeds of doubt squirmed at the back of her mind. "What's the catch?" she asked, her brow furrowing. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Nothing comes for free. This project requires commitment, focus, and, well, a tough choice on your part. Can you handle that?" Jamie's reassuring smile drifted away, replaced by a serious expression. The tension mounted, knotting in Emily's throat. She felt the weight of expectation bearing down on her again. Could she truly balance her passion for veterans while accommodating her family's business expectations? This was the moment of truth. The view before her was changing rapidly, and she stood on the edge, contemplating a leap into the unknown. She looked down at her cup of coffee, its steam swirling like the thoughts in her head. "Can I really make this work?" she whispered, half to herself, feeling the gravity of her choices closing in. "Emily," the businessman said, his tone firm. "The question is, are you willing to take the leap?" In that instant, as uncertainty coursed through her veins, her phone buzzed again, the notification promising another wrinkle in her already tangled web. Who else was reaching out now? What other possibilities lay ahead? And would she have the courage to seize them? Emily's heart raced as she glanced at her phone screen. A familiar name flashed across it, sending a jolt of recognition through her. It was an old friend from college, someone she hadn't spoken to in years. For a moment, the businessman and his proposition faded into the background as memories of their late-night talks and shared dreams filled her mind. "Are you okay?" Jamie's voice broke the spell, grounding her back in the present. The businessman was still watching her, his expression now sharpening with curiosity. "Sorry, it's a message from someone I used to know," she admitted, trying to shake off the sudden wave of nostalgia. "I'll check it later." "Right," Jamie said, but she could tell he was still concerned. The tension in the cafe felt electric, and Emily couldn't help but wonder if she was about to make a decision that would change everything. "Let us get back to what I was saying," the businessman interjected, reclaiming her attention. "I'm talking about a partnership that could propel both of our missions forward. You're passionate about helping veterans, and I can provide the funding and infrastructure to make that impact larger than it's ever been." Emily took a sip of her coffee, weighing his words. Somewhere within, the doubt that nipped at her heels was fighting with a flicker of hope. She valued her work with the veterans deeply, felt it in her bones, but was it worth risking everything for an alliance that felt uncertain? Did she really want to step into that world again? "If you're saying you can help, then give me the details," she challenged. "What's your vision?" The businessman leaned back in his chair, regarding her with a newfound respect. "I want to create a program that helps veterans not just reintegrate but thrive. We can offer them training, support, and resources through a combined approach. But it's going to take commitment, time, and your voice." Emily shifted uncomfortably. The very voice she was still trying to reclaim felt threatened. "And how does that align with your business interests?" He smiled, this time a little more genuine, but still guarded. "Big corporations are often criticized for being detached from social issues. My goal is to bridge that gap, to reshape the narrative around my company. If we can do this well, we won't just help veterans, we'll create a sustainable business model that changes lives." The way he spoke pulsed with ambition, and she could feel the world's weight resting on her shoulders. Could she really take on this challenge? Her heart whispered a stubborn resistance, reminding her why she had stayed away from corporate avenues. Just then, her phone buzzed again. This time, she couldn't ignore it. She glanced down, her heart skipping a beat as she read the message. "I'm pregnant." A flood of shock washed over her, drowning out everything else. What was she supposed to do with this new information? The ground shifted beneath her, leaving her momentarily lost in a whirlwind of emotions. "Emily?" Jamie's voice broke through her confusion with concern. "What's wrong?" She inhaled deeply, looking back at the businessman who was now eyeing her with curiosity and concern. Her voice faltered, struggling to find the words that could articulate the chaos swirling inside her mind. How could she reconcile the burgeoning life inside her with the potential deal she'd just been presented? "Let us take a moment," she finally said, closing her eyes for a beat. She didn't want the answers just yet, but one truth blossomed in her heart: change was coming, and it was going to demand everything she had. Emily, this is important, the businessman pressed, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. Are you ready to start shaping your future? She cleared her throat, looking at him with steely determination. I need to set some things straight first. Let us talk about this when I've figured out what all of this means. As she stood, emotions swirling, she felt the weight of possibility pressing down on her. She wasn't ready to leap, but she was on the cusp of something big. Her life was changing, and she wasn't sure if it was for better or worse. Her phone buzzed again, and the thrill of uncertainty wrapped around her heart. What more could she face in this whirlwind of decisions? And would the path before her lead to a place of hope or regret? Emily stepped outside the cafe, the brisk air hitting her like a shockwave. She leaned against the cool brick wall, trying to catch her breath. The world felt too big, too loud, after the tidal wave of news she had just received. A baby? How could she even begin to wrap her head around it? Her phone buzzed again. It was a follow-up message from her old friend, Anna. Hey, it's been a while. Can we talk? I really need to reach out. The thought of hearing Anna's voice, so warm and familiar, brought a smile to Emily's lips. They used to dream together about their futures, about love and life and what it all meant. But amidst the chaos of her current situation, that past felt distant and almost foreign. Emily? Jamie's voice called, pulling her back to the present. He approached with concern etched on his face. I was worried. Are you okay? She inhaled sharply. No, I don't think I am. The words escaped her before she could even think. She met his gaze, and for the first time, her mask of composure slipped. I just found out I might be pregnant. Jamie opened his mouth, shock clear in his eyes, but he quickly recovered. Wow. That's massive. How are you feeling? A knot tightened in her stomach. I don't know, Jamie. One moment I'm contemplating a life-altering partnership, and the next a child. Suddenly, the conversation with the businessman flashed in her mind. She felt guilty for not giving him her full attention. The potential to create something meaningful for veterans was slipping through her fingers, right alongside her own dreams. Maybe you should talk to him, Jamie suggested tentatively. If he can really help veterans, maybe that's worth pursuing, even now. Emily shook her head, uncertainty gripping her heart. It feels so risky. What if I end up losing myself again? Jamie stepped closer, or what if you don't? What if this is your chance to find that voice, to inspire change? You can do both. You can work toward something greater while being a parent. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes. It all felt like too much. I just can't picture how that would look. I don't even know if I'm ready to be a mother. His brow furrowed with empathy. No one is ever fully prepared. But you can figure it out. You've always been strong, Em. The weight of his words hung between them. Yes, she had been strong, but it always seemed easier to forge ahead when she was alone. Now, the thought of cradling a tiny life was overwhelming. Could she really do both? Could she find balance between new responsibilities and old passions? Another buzz from her phone made her jump. She glanced down, hesitating as she opened the message. This time, it was from the businessman. Emily, I understand that this is a lot to take in. I genuinely want to help and support you in any way possible. Let us find a time to discuss everything. In that moment, everything felt too raw while also electric with possibility. Could she really open up about her fears to him? Or would it just muddy the waters? She looked up at Jamie, searching for clarity, but found only more confusion. As he held her gaze, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Could this be the beginning of a new chapter, where strength and vulnerability collided? Where she could build a future where both her dreams and an impending motherhood existed together? Emily squared her shoulders. I'll talk to him. I'll figure it out. But deep down, a gnawing question remained: would she be able to take control of her narrative, or would it spiral out of her hands like so many other moments in her life? What was she truly willing to risk for the sake of her dreams? Emily stepped into the soft glow of the cafe, her heart pounding as she took in the bustling atmosphere. She had chosen this venue for its familiar warmth, hoping it could provide a semblance of comfort amid the whirlwind of her emotions. The text from the businessman loomed in her mind, weighing heavy with both promise and uncertainty. It was time to confront her path. Settling into a corner table, she wrapped her arms around her coffee, the heat transferring to her fingertips, grounding her momentarily. "Emily, you got this," she whispered to herself, channeling the resolve she had just discovered as both a dreamer and a potential mother. It felt like both a blessing and a challenge that would demand all of her strength. Suddenly, the door chimed open. Her gaze shot up to see the businessman stroll in, looking sharp yet approachable. He spotted her and made his way over, a glimmer of determination in his eyes. "Thanks for meeting with me," he said, settling into the seat opposite her. "I know you had a lot on your plate last time." Emily nodded, taking a fortifying sip of her coffee. "I appreciate the chance to talk. I'm in a pretty complex place right now." Without missing a beat, he leaned forward. "Let us get right to it then. I want you to know that I'm fully committed to supporting your vision. I've been thinking about how we can incorporate a focus on mental health and recovery for veterans into this partnership." A spark of excitement ignited within her. "Really? That's fantastic. Veterans need holistic approaches, not just jobs but real resources that can help them heal." He smiled, sensing her passion. "Exactly. But here's the thing, we need to package it right. To clarify, I'm suggesting we create a foundation under your name, something that hits at the heart of helping veterans. You'd have control, while we provide the financial backing to ensure it lasts long-term." Her heart fluttered. The opportunity could be life-changing not just for her but for countless veterans. But as the prospect glowed promisingly, the weight of her possible pregnancy sidled in, stark and insistent. "That sounds incredible, but I also have personal matters to consider," she admitted, finding her voice trembling slightly. "Like?" His eyes sharpened, inviting her honest thoughts into the space between them. "I might be pregnant," she confessed, barely above a whisper, as if saying the words could somehow alter their power. The honesty cracked like thunder. He narrowed his gaze, searching her for clarity. "Wow, that definitely complicates things. You're planning to keep it?" Emily took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. "I want to, yes." The realization settled more firmly in her heart as the words poured out. "But I also want to build something meaningful for veterans. My heart is pulled in two directions, and I'm scared I won't be able to manage both." "I can't pretend to understand what you're experiencing," he said, nodding thoughtfully. "But I can say you're not alone in this. You have a unique position to create something extraordinary that combines your dreams and your future." "What do you mean?" she asked, intrigued, but still apprehensive. He leaned in even closer, a glimmer of enthusiasm in his eyes. "What if you shaped the foundation around not only aiding veterans but also supporting young families like yours? Imagine a space where you empower veterans to be mentors and advocates for new parents, fostering community and support." Emily felt a rush of warmth spread through her, a potent blend of hope and responsibility. A vision fluttered before her, weaving together motherhood and mission, both aligning into a beautiful tapestry of possibility. That could really work. It could honor both my father's struggles and the legacy I want to build. "Absolutely," he said, nodding. "You can become the beacon of light both for them and for your child. You'd not just be talking about change, you'd be living it." Hope surged through her like a tidal wave, washing away the fear that had gripped her for days. She had always wanted to create a community of healing, a place for connection that spanned lifetimes. "Let us do it," she said suddenly, her heart thumping with excitement and newfound determination. "Let us start the foundation." I'll put together plans for mentorship programs, workshops, everything that champions both veterans and families." He grinned, excitement evident in his expression, and for the first time, she felt solid ground beneath her feet. "You're making the right choice, Emily. Together, we'll forge something strong, something that reverberates throughout the community." A deep sense of relief washed over her. The support she had long sought was materializing right before her eyes, a partnership that could light the way for not just veterans, but for children who needed role models. And just like that, she felt the chains of doubt crumble around her. Yes, the path forward would be a challenge, but it was also an opportunity for transformation. A realization sparked fiercely within. She was ready to embrace both sides of her journey, intertwining her dreams with the blessings of motherhood. "Together, we can make this work," she said, her resolve firm. She knew beyond a doubt that this was just the beginning of a powerful merging of dreams. As they exchanged ideas, laughter, and plans, the cafe buzzed with life around them. Emily felt an electric sense of change coursing through her, electrifying the air between them. With each moment, she knew she was no longer balancing precariously on the edge of uncertainty. She was stepping boldly into the light of possibility. This was the moment. She was not alone. With fire in her heart, she whispered her promise to the universe: "I will rise and meet this challenge with love and tenacity." As they finished their conversation and got ready to tackle the world, Emily realized her future was stitched together with the dreams of her father and the hopes of the lives she would touch. With each step forward, she would forge a legacy unlike any other, an inspiring narrative of healing, renewal, and a balancing act that celebrated both family and community. She walked out of the cafe, every fiber of her being alive with purpose. The world opened up in front of her, and she was ready to embrace it all: dreams, fears, and the beautiful, chaotic ride of motherhood. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really helps me grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.